Hello and welcome to my Celestial Engineer build. I will try to keep this build video as short as possible with a main summary of the build and choices. First and the most important question, so how does this compare to the Condition Engineer? The Condition Engineer is a very strong build. It has a lot of survivability and easy disengages. Like for example with the bomb stealth combo that you can do. We won't be using bombs in our Celestial Engineer, so we will be lacking the stealth disengage. However, the issue with the Condition Engineer, to me at least, is we have a lot of clear weaknesses. So classes that have many Condi removal or Condi immunities, or even ways of just sending back those conditions to us were a huge problem. So as a Celestial Engineer, we actually overcome a lot of our weaknesses, and I see this as an improved build for the Engineer. We are the one of the few classes that are able to successfully utilize Celestial. Celestial gives us the capability to sustain a lot longer when it comes to direct damage. We are able to reach up to 27,000 health in World vs. World, and we can heal up to 18,000 in a single combo. And to top this off, we have high power and high condition damage. Our enemies, like the Elementalist that was running a lot of condition removal and made it hard for us to pressure them, we now are able to pressure them all the time and not just wait for the opportunity after the swap from the water element. With Celestial, we are able to hit up to 7k in power crits. You can even go higher depending on the rune choices you pick. The weapon choices was quite easy for me. For this build, pistol and shield gave us high survivability, but the focus of this weapon set was more of a defensive condition set. And as a Celestial, especially with our high power damage, I wanted to fully utilize the strength of the rifle. So the rifle allows us to set up bursts with the knockdown and the net. For example, we use Grenade Barrage, which is under our grenade kit, which will be a 100% hit if you're able to use your overcharged shot into net, because they cannot dodge when they're knocked down. The stats that you see now on the screen, this is my Celestial stats fully buffed up. These can even be higher if you have the attack buff. I didn't unlock the attack buff, the 100 increased condition damage and the 100 increased power in World vs. World yet. Also, these stats are with the Hulbrak runes. If you feel like the crit chance is a little bit too low, you can switch that over to Runes of the Pack, which will give you a chance to get Fury, and you will also have that bonus 125 precision, which will give a decent boost to your crit chance. So how should you use this build? As an engineer, our playstyle is mostly about countering our opponent's moves. This does not mean we cannot initiate. We have many tricks up our sleeves to make the right engagement. Now, what the rifle also gives us is much more control disables. An example of this is what I mentioned before. You can knock a person down with the overcharged shot, which leaves them vulnerable for your net shot, since they won't be able to dodge that. And once you hit your net, you can easily move into Rifle 5 or your Grenade Barrage, depending on what you feel is necessary. The rifle also opens up neat tricks that we normally could not do with the pistol and shield. Let's say a person got downed and there's a warrior with stability rezzing him, and you do not have enough pressure ready to pressure both the bodies to make the rezzing stop. You can actually use your overcharged shot on the downed body to launch them away from the rezzer. This will buy you a little bit more time for your cooldown to get back up and to be able to repressure both the targets. And this will also put the warrior in a bit more vulnerable position, since he most likely used one of his defensive buffs to safely rest the person. I created two versions of this build, one for World vs. World, which will use our trait setup similar to the Bomb Engineer, but instead, in the final explosive trait, we will use Grenadier to buff up our grenade kit. For the SPVP build, we moved the 20% cooldown reduction from the rifle back to backpack regenerator for extra sustainability in long combat scenarios. This helps us out a lot more, especially when stuck in combat while roaming from point to point. The sigil choice for the weapon is the Sigil of Battle, which will give us 6 stacks of might in combat, and if you use Rune of the Hulbrak, you can reach up to 11 stacks of might. Each stack of might will give us 35 power and condition damage, so this is a massive boost to our damage, especially since we utilize both of them with the Celestial set. And for the secondary sigil, you have a couple of options. I would suggest, if you don't have too much money, go for Doom or Air. Doom will keep the poison permanently up if you miss up on your grenades. Air will give you that increased power damage. Both of these will help you out a lot in extra damage, but if you have the money, I honestly would suggest go for a Sigil of Generosity. These at this moment costs about 90 gold a piece, so it's quite expensive. What the Sigil of Generosity allows you to do is to transfer back entire stack of conditions. So if a Necromancer is stacked up to 15 stacks of bleeding, a Sigil of Generosity will send these 15 stacks of bleeding back to the target. And this helps you in two ways. You put the pressure back on your opponent, but also this helps us with our lack of condition removal, since we only have our healing turret to remove conditions. Under utilities, the idea was to support our hybrid setup as much as possible. Now, grenades on its own aren't the greatest utility, they are very easy to dodge, but with the support and the crowd control we gain from our rifle and toolkit, we are able to make full use of our grenade kit. Grenades offer us decent power damage and condition damage. Also, because of our trait setup, each grenade will give us a stack of vulnerability. Each stack of vulnerability will increase our damage by 1%. So it's very smart to start with the rifle overcharge shot into the net and the grenade barrage, because this way you set up a decent amount of vulnerability on your opponents, which allows you to pressure them down much faster. Also very important to know is that the poison grenade is not blockable. This allows us to pressure our opponents when they're on the defensive, and if you're able to, you can use your Rifle 5 Leap to apply weakness to your opponent if they are power-based. This will mitigate some of their damage when playing against tanky players with a lot of health regen. It might be more useful to use your Throw Rents instead, because this will increase your poison duration on your opponent. Finally, also with the grenades, we gain the power to pressure down bodies from long range. If we're fighting in a 1vx situation, or even in a situation that you're in such low health that you cannot get close to the body, grenades will give us maximum range and safety to bomb the bodies. And this will also allow you to pressure multiple opponents quite easy because of the AoE range of the grenades. Our second utility was initially chosen to be the Elixir S, but I think it's more dependent on the place where you play. I've been testing out a lot, and for World vs. World, I felt Elixir S didn't give me the mobility that I needed to disengage from bigger groups. Even though stealth was very handy, in open areas players would find you very fast, and the chasing power was also very low. So I've decided to stick with the rocket boots in World vs. World. This also opens up a lot more disengaged areas that other classes cannot reach. In SPVP, however, the areas are a lot smaller, and even a short amount of stealth is enough to safely disengage and reposition yourself. I feel that the Elixir S is far superior, especially a stun break is very needed to deal with the organized bursts. Don't use your Elixir S unless you're expecting heavy damage that you cannot dodge. A good way is to set up the fight using Elixir S stealth into a magnet pull and grenade barrage. This allows you to decap a point and deal high damage, and set up your rifle overcharge shot and net shot for even more decap time. You can also use your stealth to disengage when decapping far. If you get outnumbered, it is usually better to just rotate away instead of letting yourself die fighting 1v2. For the final utility, we go for the toolkit. This is our defensive utility. It allows us to block every 20 seconds for 3 seconds. Amazing to stop enemy bursts. Caltrops, which sets up bleeding and cripple pressure on point. This is unblockable. And finally, two of my favorite skills, which is the magnet pull. This is also unblockable, will allow us to pull an enemy from 1200 range to either set up our burst or remove pressure from an ally. A good combination with the magnet pull would be the pry bar. The pry bar will give us very high power damage. This deals up to 4.5k damage, and on top of it, it adds 5 stacks of confusion, which is 630 damage on each skill use that your enemy uses. Now, confusion is really nice to actually slow down an enemy aggression, because under confusion they will be playing a lot more defensive. Either they will start running away until the confusion is gone, or they will try to condition removal as soon as possible, which will open it up for more Kandi burst. If they do continue attacking with confusion on top of them, they will lose a lot of health, and very fast. You cannot lose with confusion, so make sure that you hit your pry bar. It's a very important skill to hit. A lot of people are actually expecting a pry bar after a magnet pull, so sometimes it is smart to not use it immediately after the magnet pull. Another very important notice is to not underestimate the auto attack from the toolkit. It deals high power damage, and it also cripples your enemy for a decent duration. This way you can stay on top of your enemy while still maintaining good damage. The Throw Rents, which is the tool belt skill from the toolkit, deals very high power damage, hits up to 2 times, and also is a 100% projectile finisher. You can use this in combination with any field. This summarizes my build. I might make another video with some example fights where I explain what my thought process is. I would honestly suggest just check out my stream. I try to explain as much as I can while fighting. Have a good day, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Kill the Guardian! Kill the Guardian! We can do this. Well played, well played. Now, can you stomp him? Do you have blinds? Anything? He left. Okay. No, it's fine, it's fine.